we have an employee who you're seeing that they're having a difficult time focusing. They're not being as productive as they used to be. Maybe they've become sensitive to feedback. They're having a hard time. And maybe you have a client who stops showing up. They're having an internal experience, even if we don't know exactly what's going on. An attendee in a webinar who is ridiculing everything in the chat and complaining that this wasn't what they expected. Right? And you're thinking, well, this is a free webinar. Like, what's your problem? In all of these instances, these individuals are behaving from their emotions, probably. Overwhelm, reaction mode, and just keeping up are the old way.
You need real, root-level strategies and practical steps to grow your business or ministry without exhaustion and burnout.
Hi there, we're Anna Saucier
And Megan Gephardt,
best friends and business consultants who help faith-filled women create sustainable growth through simple strategy with a people-first approach.
Here at Apostolic Fruit, we hope to offer you clarity, support, accompaniment, and healing,
one tiny step at a time. Hello and welcome back to the Apostolic Fruit podcast. I'm Anna Saucier, and today I want to talk to you about emotions. Emotions in the workplace, emotions in entrepreneurship, emotions in leadership, and the difference between the way that we commonly understand emotions and managing emotions and the expectation versus how we can do it differently in a more human-centered, people-first approach. Now, you may have had the experience in the workplace or as a leader or as an entrepreneur that it feels like our emotions get in the way, right? I want to move forward. I want to accomplish something. We want to get something done as a team. And when I'm experiencing or feeling emotions, those often take precedent. Our body says, wait a second, I've got something going on here. And it's difficult to focus. It's difficult to stay on that track of production. We want to get something done when we're experiencing those emotions. And so often we'll see advice or a way of telling us that we ought to approach emotions by managing them. And this is like everything. It is fairly nuanced because the truth is that we don't want to behave directly from our emotions. However, we don't want to shut them down either. They're a deeply human experience and very important to us being a full human being, a fully alive human being. But let's first take a look at the word manage and understand this approach first. So manage implies control, domination, wielding power, or power over. And we can also understand that this is the way that most of us were taught when it comes to emotions. We think about when you were a child, maybe you still see this in your family unit narrative. Perhaps you may be parenting this way as well. And here we want to bring awareness to this in a very clear and obvious way, while also unshaming the experience. Thinking back to when you were a child, did you have the experience of being told, stop crying, settle down, quit screaming? What those caregivers meant, because we want to understand the experience of what was happening, what those caregivers meant when they said that, those parents, they meant, I don't know how or have capacity to hold space for your emotions right now, right? Likely because they're having a barrage of their own emotions about a kid who's all out expressing themselves in the cereal aisle, right? And so what they're feeling inside their own body is embarrassment, possibly panic, pressure of time, because they've got to get things done. So can you relate to that experience of being a child and hearing those things? And when you're a child under like 7 or 8 years old, you are operating from your body alone. You do not have the rational cognitive process in your mind to be thinking, I'm not sure that I should be all out crying right now. I don't know if it's appropriate, and like reading the room and understanding what emotions are acceptable in this social context. A child doesn't have that. When they begin to receive those messages from their caregivers, they start to shut that down. Or maybe you've had this experience as an adult. And it's important to recognize that this is a generational pattern that's hard to break. And it comes into our business and leadership as well. Maybe we have an employee who you're seeing that they're having a difficult time focusing. They're not being as productive as they used to be. Maybe they've become sensitive to feedback. They're having a hard time. And maybe you have a client who stops showing up. They're having an internal experience, even if we don't know exactly what's going on. An attendee in a webinar who is ridiculing everything in the chat and complaining that this wasn't what they expected. Right? And you're thinking, well, this is a free webinar. Like, what's your problem? And in all of these instances, these individuals are behaving from their emotions, probably. And here is a critical distinction that as adults, it's expected that we have learned to behave from that rational thinking and discernment and not directly from our emotions. Like I mentioned, it'll be 4, 7, 8 years old, a child, that's normal. Behaving directly from your emotions, from your body. So why do we see adults then with this disconnection between they're having this emotional experience and they're behaving out of that? They're not being able to behave rationally. And I put myself in this place as well. I experienced this too, mostly because they don't know how. Ideally, the way that this process works is we know how to pause, process emotions, and then behave, make some action from that rational mind. But those adults that are behaving this way were once a kid who was probably told to quit crying, just sit still, to shut down those emotions and to shut down what their body naturally wanted them to do. And therefore, they weren't taught or given permission to pause and process those emotions. What they were taught was to shut them down and in a way to manage them. I'm going to take this and shut it down. This emotion is not acceptable here. And note the distinction of when they were told to stop crying, the underlying message was the way my body is feeling is bad. Because remember, they're not rationally processing this. They're just having a bodily experience and expressing from that. So the message, when that is shut down, when that is told that it's not acceptable, the message is of shame. You are bad. This is not okay. Right? So they're not just shutting down the expression, they're shutting down the feeling itself. So if we consider the alternative as opposed to this management model, and we can honor the intention in the managing emotions model, because usually the first step there also is awareness. Like, I'm aware of I'm having an experience of emotion right now, and awareness is always the first and most important step. So that is a good thing. And then our next step is the critical difference. Are we shutting it down, or are we holding space for it? So what it's naturally supposed to look like, and putting supposed to in air quotes because everybody's human experience is different, but what we want it to look like is feeling, expression, holding space, someone teaching us how. So we're learning how. And then we can move back to the mind, and then we rationally behave from there, right? So we have an emotion, we experience it, we hold space for it, we express it, we allow it to move through our body. We're learning how to do this process, right, as we do it. And then we can move back to the mind, to the rational behavior from there. It's because many adults have not been taught to do it this way. We can understand and have compassion for this experience within ourselves first. It always begins within ourselves. To say, I am having the experience of an emotion. Here's what it is. Here's what's happening within my body. And that's okay. This is my human experience. And then we'll be able to take that acceptance, that unshaming of having emotions, being a fully alive human being, and unshame that in others as well. Recognize that other people have emotions. And if we want to be a more human-centric, people-first leader, this is where we begin. This is one of the most crucial places to begin. To be able to learn first for ourselves and then be able to not manage emotions within ourselves, but hold space for them. And then we're able to go out and do that with others as well. To be able to see them, to understand, pause, to hold space for them to have their human experience. To create enough space to process through the body, to be able to come back to the mind. The prefrontal cortex, where we have that access to discernment, to rational thinking, all of this that God enabled us to have in order to be co-creative with them. It starts within ourselves, and then we're able to take that out with others.
We hope you loved today's episode. If so, would you take a moment to share it with a friend?
If you haven't already, come connect with us human to human at apostolicfruit.com/connect. When you're ready, we'd love to support you more deeply.
May the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you,
And turn his face toward you and give you peace.